No one matched all 6 numbers and won the estimated $825 million grand prize. That means the next drawing tonight will be for a massive $1 billion through an annuity, or if you take the cash option, $497.3 million. The winning numbers Saturday night were 19, 31, 40, 46, 57, and the Powerball was 23. A Florida ticket holder scooped up $2 million by matching all 5 of the white balls, and 6 tickets won $1 million each, including 2 in California, 2 in Michigan, 1 in Maryland, and 1 in Texas. Tonight's increased jackpot will remain the 5th largest in U.S. history. The biggest prize was $1.586 billion, which was a Powerball that was won by 3 ticket holders back in 2016.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Showers likely this morning, otherwise cloudy skies. Highs can be up to 65 degrees. When the kids head out for trick-or-treating around 6 p.m. tonight, there is a slight chance of a stray shower or 2 through midnight. Temperature should be around 64 degrees. Then overnight tonight, a slight chance of showers with a low of 55. Tomorrow, slight chance of showers, high up to 65 degrees. For your Wednesday, mostly sunny, high 67. Thursday and Friday, partly sunny both days, highs in the upper 60s. That is a look at the news for now. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
I just want to make sure everything's exactly right. It's 54 degrees and the rain's slowing down a little bit. And my friend Roberta came back to visit us just like last time I made you promise. Roberta, it's great to see you. Roberta Scuilly, you were with Old Economy Village. What's your title with Old Economy Village?
It's nice to be here, first
and
of all.
not to throw everything all in. Oh, it's so great to see. I've been looking forward to this for a couple reasons. But Old Economy Village in Ambridge, what do you do there besides everything seemingly?
Oh, I wish, but thank you for that compliment. I am on the board at Old Economy Village. I'm also on the board of the Ambridge Historic District, which is a several block area outside of Old Economy Village. And I'm a volunteer with the Bicentennial Cookbook Committee.
Wait, so 200 years, bicentennial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's one of the things we talked about last time.
Yes.
And I said, well, when the book gets done, why don't you come on by? You visiting tells me, is the book done?
The book is done and published and available retail, several locations, as well as an order.
I want to know all of the locations. I want to talk about the process. First, where can they get the book? Can they go online to you guys, Old Economy Village?
Not to Old Economy Village, but if you go to the Bicentennial Facebook page, which is Old Economy-Ambridge 2024, that's the Facebook page for the Bicentennial. And in that page is a poster of the cookbook along with a QR code that somebody can scan with their phone and place an order.
You get a poster too?
You could get a poster if we needed to. We don't have those yet, but...
All right, what, you're talking about the person poster. All right, where are they available, retail outlets? Because this is absolutely perfect. As soon as we get... When do you start your Christmas shopping? Right after Halloween, right?
That's exactly right. So the timing is perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you ride the sugar buzz from the Halloween candy and get your... And this is perfect. What retailers are the books available at?
So the books are available at the Borough of Ambridge Borough Building, which is on 11th Street. They are available at Old Economy Village's museum shop, the gift shop. They are also available at the Lachlan Memorial Library in Ambridge and Do It Best.
The hardware store.
Yes. Yes.
How long did it take from the, hey, let's do a cookbook to telling you where you can get it? How long did it take?
About a year and a half. It was a long process, looking for, what would the cookbook eventually be? What's our goal? Taking input from the History and Education Committee of the Bicentennial Group, and finding sponsors, seeking sponsors, getting commitment, etc. It was about a year and a half process. And then the whole idea of submitting recipes, what would make this cookbook unique, and why would people want it over a regular cookbook? So the idea of people sharing their recipe, their favorite recipe, but also why is it their favorite? What does it mean to them? That was our ultimate goal. In the process, many people from the community said, oh, here's an old cookbook. Maybe you can find something in there. The library, Julie from the library said, oh, here are some historic cookbooks from the 1930s. Maybe you can find something in there. So the cookbook ended up being far larger than we ever anticipated, but 21 cookbooks were referenced for historic perspective. And we have this wonderful cookbook.
Roberta is my guest, Roberta Scuilly with Old Economy Village. Were there recipes that got sent in that you just looked at it and said, that's got to be god awful, we ain't putting that in there? I mean, you're going to be polite about it, but tell me the truth.
No, I think we used everyone's recipe that
Did you
was
really?
submitted. Especially if they had an interesting story to go along with it. It's important to them, therefore it's important to us. And the Bicentennial Committee, which is sort of a separate entity from Old Economy Village and the borough, but it's a combined effort. So there's other people doing other things related to the Bicentennial, and the cookbook was just one little piece that the timing was right for us to move forward and try to make a cookbook happen for the community.
You mentioned earlier you were thinking about what you wanted the cookbook to be.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it ended up being what you wanted it to be, and how much of it changed along the way, saying, we'd rather it be like this now? Because that's a lot of moving parts in a year and a half when you're talking about subjective things like that.
Oh, for sure. That's a great question, because although we knew we wanted it to be something unique, we really thought that there would be more history, paragraphs of history, or not so many recipes being submitted. And as it evolved, someone said, oh, well, maybe we should have a section on this or a section on, the cookie table things. Well, we looked at that and said, there are a lot of recipes out there like that, a lot of cookbooks dedicated to that. Let's let the process dictate the end point. And that's what we did. So as we were looking for recipes and how people submitted them, the cookbook just fell together, where we have sections of the cookbook from, the Harmonist era, 19th century to the 1930s. So there's a handful of recipes from that era.
I got to believe, and correct me, and I know you will if I'm wrong, Roberta Scuilly with Old Economy Village is my guest. I've read up a little bit about the Harmonists. I may be wrong, and tell me if I am. They don't seem like that they would be throwing a whole lot of extravagant meals together.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct. And their directions.
No charcuterie in the Harmonist book?
No,
okay.
No charcuterie. But the directions were so characteristic of that era, where, certain assumptions were made that you knew what to do with certain recipes, and the ingredients were very simple, readily available, and usually, fed a lot of people.
You weren't cooking for one, were you?
No. In the 1930s, the same thing as Ambridge started to develop. It was pretty interesting to see the trend.
Did anything surprise you? Did anything come in and you go, oh my gosh, I never knew that? Because you're talking about, and you nailed it, by the way, if you're talking about a cookbook to represent the community, and it is put together from people in the community, that is the representation. Correct. But was there anything that came in and you like, I never knew that?
So there were a couple things I would say, like the most unusual recipe that I saw, which was from the Harmonist time, used portulaca leaves. And to me, portulaca is a flower, has some semi-succulent leaves, but they made a soup out of it, and it was called a very French soup. Um,
Wait, it
so
didn't have a French name. They just called it
a
a
very
very French soup.
Yes, yes. But again, it fed a lot of people, and there was some meat base to it.
What is say the word again?
Portulaca.
Portulaca, and it's a
Leaves.
tree or a bush.
It's a plant. It's an annual in some areas, a perennial in others, and they use the leaves. So I thought that was quite unusual. Again, incorporating what you have available into what your needs are for your family. So, that type of trend was definitely news to me from, Harmonist era to the 1930s.
Could you see with the dates of what you were getting sent the changes in the diet of the Ambridge? It's like, well, okay, here's a recipe from the 30s. We're eating shrubbery. Here's a recipe from the 60s. It's probably not shrubbery.
That's correct. We divided the cookbook again based upon the process, which led us to the recipes. So we had recipes that fell into a couple of buckets of era. From the 30s, the next bucket of recipes from 1940 to 1970, and we titled that chapter in the cookbook as "American Bridge Builds a Town." So a lot of the recipes from that are from that era and who was doing what in the community.
I'm not working on steel all afternoon and coming home to shrubbery soup.
Oh, it's true. And, speaking of steel and working, one of the interesting things of the cookbook is each era has a little blurb of some history, but also something we're calling cultural folklore. And a writer who's was local to Ambridge and has published books, Karen Milena, is part of our group. And she wrote a little, couple paragraphs as a precursor to each of these eras about what she remembers and what, her history and research of the town has led to her. So it's a fascinating.
That's cool.
It is. And then the next era would be 1980 to 2008, which is cultural growth, and then current day 2009 to today, and that's where we have the recipes and stories.
What's your favorite recipe?
I knew you were going to ask me that because you sort of asked that the last time
Yeah,
I was
and you
here.
came up with nothing. It's like, I'm not letting her off the hook.
Well, I have a favorite recipe that I've made several from the cookbook already.
You know, I live across the street from you, and I haven't seen you yell over the fence, hey, not once.
Okay.
What have you made from the book?
I will change that so
All
that
right.
you have something to go by and you can taste it. I have made eggplant patties from a person. Her story, Helen Ombris, her story was so interesting. And I know Helen for many years. And so I said, let me try the eggplant patties. And they were delicious. I've also made an orange cake that was like semi-homemade.
No. What is semi-homemade? You
Well,
made part of it at home and then took part of it somewhere else?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. What's semi? It's like a semi-bone. It's either a bone or not a bone.
So in cooking, semi-homemade may mean that you're using some packaged material, in this case, a packaged cake mix, but you're modifying it to customize it to your recipe. So you may add orange segments or, different thickening agents like oil or enrichment agents like oil and extra eggs and milk and things
Okay,
like that.
you're cherry picking somebody else's base coat, and then you're doing work to it to make it better.
Somebody else did that. They
Mhm.
submitted their recipe for the orange cake. So I found that to be quite an interesting and delicious. Both of those recipes were delicious. And a person from our cookbook committee, Janet George, has made the submission of recipe from the Beth Samuel Jewish Center in Ambridge, a cookie that they have made for their holiday season. And she loves it. So we've tried some of them, but certainly not all of the recipes.
You mentioned a friend of our group. Explain to people what your group is.
So the Bicentennial Committee, I talk with my hands a lot, so I'm going to
That's
try
all
to
right.
explain. I'm going to try to explain it to you.
You're in good. We'll flail along together. You go right ahead.
Okay, so there is a steering committee of the bicentennial efforts.
Which is 2024.
4. Yes.
You
And then
got to plan it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then under the bicentennial committee are several groups working on different aspects. There's a history and education committee that is chaired by Sarah Buffington, who is the curator at Old Economy Village. And our cookbook falls within that committee. And then there are other committees that I'm really not that familiar with working on other bicentennial efforts.
There's a whole, well, this is why you start 2 years in advance, a massive amount of moving parts.
That's exactly right. I stayed in my own swim lane, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
for the cookbook because it was a huge endeavor and it required our energy, complete focus.
Roberta, it's always great to see you again. Roberta Scuilly from Old Economy Village. Tell people again where they can get the cookbook, and then tell them again how they can get involved. You said a part of our group. What if somebody wants to be a part of your group? Just go to the website and check it out.
So I would say that first, the places to get the cookbook
Mm-hmm.
are Do It Best Hardware Store. In all of these locations are in Ambridge. Do It Best Hardware, Lachlan Memorial Library, the Borough of Ambridge Borough Building, and then Old Economy Village Museum Shop. If anybody wants to get involved with the Bicentennial Committee or the Ambridge Historic District, I'll give you contact information for each of those. So the Bicentennial, I would say contact the Ambridge Borough office and identify yourself as wanting to help with the bicentennial efforts. There's a lot of moving parts, as you said, so
Mm-hmm.
we need people to grab those moving parts. As far as the Ambridge Historic District, we have a Facebook page, Ambridge Historic District, EDC. Message us through that. Stop at Rivertown Antiques in Ambridge. You could stop and say hello to Ann and Carl. They're on the board of the Ambridge Historic District, and let them know you want to be involved.
Right there on
On
Merchant.
Merchant Street. Or message us at historicdistrict@gmail.com. And then Old Economy Village has their own website and their own Facebook page. And there's plenty of contact information there. Their number is 724-266-4500. And plug yourself into whatever passions you have. We're always looking for people who have a passion for historic preservation and restoration. And all of those resources are available to anyone. If you don't know where to contact one of them, and we'll get you into the right place.
What did I not ask you that I should have asked you today, Roberta?
So I think the only thing that other things that I wanted to communicate is that we will do a mailing of the cookbook if somebody is interested.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to, if you don't want to drive into Ambridge, there's a way to get it. Yes, how?
Oh, so they're, again, on the Facebook page by Ambridge, Old Economy-Ambridge 2024. That's the bicentennial official site. There is a poster, like I left one downstairs too, so you'll see one outside.
It's very
the window.
cool. Oh, and the new signs on Merchant Street, the bicentennial signs, are beautiful.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Those are an effort of the Ambridge Historic District Economic Development Corp. And the money from that came from our annual fundraiser, which is in the fall, called Crush and Brew, which is, we just had our 12th year, believe it or not. 12 years of that fundraiser has produced many things. And it's homebrew beer competition and homemade wine. So that's where the money came from for that. There is a QR code on the poster that is on the social media sites that will link you to a form to be filled out for mailing. So we have requests for mailing from Florida and Montana.
Nice.
Unbelievable. It really is amazing. Florida, California, Ohio, Maryland, Indiana, all across the country where people have roots to Ambridge and have somehow found out about the cookbook and have an interest. And we also have recipes from people in those areas as well, which is really quite, remarkable that people in their memory is so strong they want to capture that.
Your work is preserving history. And that's what, not just preserving history, spreading history to other parts so people know. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it gives people a way to maintain that Ambridge connection.
That's it. Great seeing you again.
Oh, you as well. May I also just recognize our sponsors?
Please, because without sponsors, none of this go. I know that.
Oh, thank you. The cookbook really was funded by our sponsors in advance of the publication. That way, anything that we make from cookbook sales will go to bicentennial efforts for anybody else who's working on the various committees. So we want to thank Ambridge Regional Distribution and Manufacturing Facility, Ambridge Water Authority, Frank's Pizza, Rob Matzi, the Salopek family, the Mikish family, Old Economy Village, West Banco, Beth Samuel Jewish Community Center, Do It Best, Oddfellow Lodge 348, Clover Lodge, Laughlin Memorial Library, the Maple Restaurant, New Alliance Federal Credit Union, Reach for the Stars Dance Studio, St. Mary's Byzantine Catholic Church, Trinity School for Ministry, First United Methodist Church, and Harry Knafel's family.
Just pretty much run up and down Merchant and Duss Avenue. You see a whole lot of that, don't you?
That's exactly right. They're
And
very supportive.
and Maplewood, of course.
Yep.
It's great seeing you again.
You as well. Thank you for the opportunity to come back.
Absolutely. I can't wait to take a look at the cookbook.
I have one here. You could take a look.
Okay. Roberta Scuilly's been my guest with Old Economy Village. It's Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio is celebrating 75 years and the Halloween holiday this Monday, October the 31st, starting at 3 p.m. by stepping back in time to 1984, when Beaver County Radio staff members, including the teddy bear himself, Jim Reynolds, Steve Granado, Chris Shevlin, Mike Romai, and 13 other staff members presented Spooks Galore live on Beaver County Radio. The crew set out to relocate the radio station to Count Karloff Haunted Mansion located on Eastville Mountain. Tune in at 3 p.m. and find out if the mansion really was haunted and why Cliff and Mike didn't want anyone in the basement. This fun trip down memory lane on Beaver County Radio is being brought to you by the Women's Center of Beaver County, attorney Frank Martucci, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Good News Body Works, and Beaver County Radio. It's our way at Beaver County Radio of wishing you
Happy Halloween.
Haunted houses and things that go bump in the night can be very scary, especially at this time of year. But the one thing that you shouldn't be afraid of is calling a lawyer. Regardless of your situation, attorney Frank Martucci welcomes your call to discuss almost all matters pertaining to general legal counsel. Call 724-709-5756 and let Frank Martucci put your anxiety to ease. Some even say that dealing with Frank Martucci is a treat. Don't be tricked, especially with legal issues. Get the advice you need from attorney Frank Martucci. Call 724-709-5756.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Frank Sparks.
And good morning. Happy Halloween to everybody on this Monday morning, October the 31st of 2022. Your Beaver County Radio weather forecast for today. It's calling for showers this morning. Otherwise, it's going to be cloudy throughout other parts of the day. High is going to be up to 65 degrees. We'll have your trick-or-treat forecast for when those kids head out the door around 6 p.m. tonight, right after we have this look at news. An Aliquippa football player landed in jail after he pointed a loaded gun at another teammate after an argument on the team bus on the way back to the school from practice on Wednesday night. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano has more.
The Aliquippa Police Department was dispatched to the Aliquippa High School Wednesday evening following an off-site practice of the Aliquippa football team. Aliquippa Police Sergeant Nicholas Durega said an argument occurred on the team bus. The unnamed victim reported to police that 18-year-old Jonathan King, who left the school and came back with a firearm and cocked a Chambray 1 round, pointed it at him. Police secured the parking lot as they searched for King. Some of the players who were outside told police that King took off down Main Street Hill. Coach Mike Warfield told police he took the firearm off King. Warfield turned over the weapon to officers. The juvenile left the school on foot and came back to the police department for questioning. During the course of the investigation, King's mother brought him to the police station for questioning, but refused to answer any questions without an attorney present. He was booked into the county jail on $250,000 bond. This is Sandy Giordano for Beaver County Radio.
Hopewell Township couples' Halloween decorations have won them the Hopewell Township Beautification Award. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano has more.
Brian and Lori Huffnagel and their two children have been decorating for Halloween for the past 5 years. This year they won the Beautification Award, according to Nora Janicki, community